Good morning, everybody, and wish you all a very healthy World Health Day. 7th April is celebrated as World Health Day all over the world. Nowadays, there are so many days which are being observed, but World Health Day is one of the oldest. And all these national and international important days are observed based on a theme. And why should we have a theme? The theme will guide us to focus our activities, plan the activities, and showcase some outcome at least at the end of the year. So, this year's theme of WHO is Our Planet, Our Earth, because gone are the days where we had clean air, clean water, and less polluted areas of living, and lot of waste we see all around us. So it is a dream of everyone to live in a very good area which is healthy for all of us. So our planet, our earth is the theme which is selected by WHO, and each of us need to have the consciousness about protecting our earth, because it is we who are damaging the earth. It is not some aliens or animals which are damaging the earth. It is we who are responsible to maintain a cleaner earth and safer earth for our next generation to live. So, in that regard, I am extremely thankful to Dr. Harshal Ramesh Salve, who is the additional professor in our Center for Community Medicine. And he is also very popular because he is the president of the Faculty Association of AIIMS, General Secretary of Faculty Association of AIIMS. So he is known to everyone working in AIIMS, and of course he is also very helpful in taking forward the concerns and issues of us and identifying solutions with the administration. So that way he is already a proven leader, and he is a physician, and he is a teacher and a researcher. And I was just going through his short CV, and it was very interesting to read his CV. He has 13 years of experience in AIIMS, but in that 13 years, he has significantly contributed to the institution. He has worked for Ministry of Health and the Government of India at national level, with state governments and international agencies such as WHO in their expert committees, and in the research projects of international level. And he is part of preparing the technical reports by various international agencies. And his major area of work are NCDs, non-communicable diseases, climate change, air pollution, mental health, and health system research. And he is also a member of the WHO Collaborating Center of AIIMS, and he has worked as interministerial central team for assessing the response for COVID-19 pandemic in the state of Maharashtra and Rajasthan. He has also contributed in generating awareness regarding COVID-19 among the general public on both print and electronic media. And he is currently working in a collaborative project between AIIMS and IIT. It is a community-based project on early warning systems for vector-borne diseases, air pollution, and its health effects in Delhi NCR. I have heard early warning signs to prevent CPR in hospitals, but early warning signs are also being selected for the other kind of diseases at community level. So it's very interesting to learn that. And he is also a recipient of several awards and fellowships for his significant contribution, both at national level and international level. He has more than 50 publications to his credit, and he has authored few chapters in the textbooks. And it was hardly 2 days notice when I sent him early morning message. He immediately responded and agreed to speak on climate change and its impact on health. That is his area of specialization and very much aligned with the theme of the year. So, Dr. Salve, we are highly thankful for accepting our very short invitation. And we have students and faculty here who are attending physically, and some have joined online also. So now the dais is yours to speak on climate change and its impact on health.
So, first of all, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude and I thank Principal College of Nursing, Dr. Lata Venkateshan, ma'am. So, I cannot say no because you are our neighbor physically also. So, definitely, and I always cherish talking to students and faculty members. So it's my pleasure that you give me opportunity to talk on this relevant topic on very relevant day, I must say. Thank you, ma'am. So I will just talk from there. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, my lecture is not one way. It's always a two ways talk. So anybody can say why we celebrate World Health Day. What is the occasion, students? Yes, right. It's the foundation day of World Health Organization. And what was the need of founding such organization? What was the need? Each country is a separate, each there are different issues, different challenges. So, what was the need to form organizations, a World Health Organization at that time? You know in which context it was formed? It was formed after just after the Second World War, right? So there were the casualties and devastations across the globe almost, right? So to have a unified approach and to have to address all the concerns related to the health, the World Health Organization was formulated, right? And we as a country, this is the only organization which has signatories from largest number of signatories as far as the countries are concerned, right? Because health concerns all. And in today's connected world, we cannot work in isolation. None of us can work in isolation. Then it also applicable for the country, right? Any challenges, particularly if you see the newer challenges what we are facing, the environmental issues, the climate issues, now some other issues like what we have faced, COVID-19, right? Outbreak, another pandemic related issues that need a unified approach and action has to be done together, right? And each and every person on this planet. So that is also a job of a World Health Organization, and that, as rightly pointed out by ma'am, that why there is a requirement of theme, because then you work on that theme, that sensitize, that gives a priority at the international level to the topic, I will say, and then that mobilize the resources, that mobilizes the technical input, that mobilizes the political will to address that issue. So that was the need to give theme for each and every World Health Day celebration. So we'll discuss about the climate change and health, what we know and what we need to know. So how many of you heard about this term, climate change? All of you? Might be, from the in the school days, we are in the 12th, mostly 10th, 12th, we got introduced to this term, right? Climate change, global warming, right? But still, I will say it is not at the forefront of our actions as far as the health actions are concerned, right? We are still struggling with the other issues, maternal mortality, childhood mortalities, RCH issues, the infectious diseases, tuberculosis, malaria, right? The world is still struggling to address these issues. Then we have other issues, for example, non-communicable diseases. We had communicable diseases, now we are again battling with the non-communicable diseases, obesity, mental health issues, that is compounding our more challenges, public health challenges at national, international, also at the local level, right? So in this all priorities, the environmental sort of issues remains at the sort of at the back burner. But with the current sort of renewed interest at the international level, since last few years, you must have seen a lot of activities happening, right, with respect to addressing this environmental issues, be it air pollution, be it climate change, be it extreme weather events, what we are witnessing across the globe, right? So this is again one of the, so I will say, the initiative at the international level to stimulate global community so that they should take actions with respect to environment health. So we'll discuss about what is climate change and what we know about its impact and air pollution. I will touch upon the air pollution impact on health and what we should do. So climate is what? Climate, we expect the weather will be like that. Climate is our expectation, right? And usually in the meteorological definition, it is this climate situation has been developed over a period of 30 years. So last 30 years, during, let's say, in the month from January to February in India, this was the climate. So you expect similar thing in subsequent years. That we call it as a climate. What is weather? Weather we see in day-to-day life, right? On daily basis, temperature, humidity, rainfall, that's the weather. So most of the time, people confuse climate change with the short-term weather variability or climate variability. So climate change is a long-term process, more than 50 years, right? So that's why it doesn't get attention, because it's a when climate change will going to happen, your next generation will going to suffer, and we don't care. We don't care much nowadays about our neighborhood. So next generation to dur ki baat hai, right? So that's why the attention is not there. Nothing happening right now. There is no calamity happening in Delhi, AIIMS. We are not falling down because of air pollution, be it a 500 or 600 levels. Nothing is happening. So that's why the local people or local authorities doesn't get sensitized to this issue. But climate change, when we say, it happens over a decades, and whatever you see is a scenario that is being explained by the scientist. So what are the indicators of climate change, right? First is increase in what? Increase in temperature, humidity, sea level, and ocean heat content, and sea surface levels, and the migration of the birds or the other species to the pole, right? And extreme weather events that will increase over the period of time. There is also decrease in what? Glaciers, sea ice, and the snow cover. So these are the indicators which is being monitored over the period of time by the scientists and the meteorologists, so that that is an indication that climate change is real and that is happening. There are people, or there are other school of thought, and this is just a sham sort of thing. Again, why it is there? Because nothing is happening on the immediate basis, right? But it is there. If you see, there's a recent clip in the newspaper that currently we are going to the heat wave, right, in the Delhi. It was not there since last 3 years. Not only the daily temperature is increasing, but the daily heat days are also increasing, right? So these are the indications of the climate change that is happening. You must have heard these names over a period of time, last 2 years, when we are battling with the COVID. The country has been hit with all these cyclones over a period of time, extreme weather events. Those are again due to the rise in Earth's surface temperature, right? The change in precipitation, change in weather conditions. And there is something called as a Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change, IPCC, right? As I said, we have to act together. So there is an intergovernmental panel, and that come up with various reports with respect to the climate change and its predictions, right? So these are few sort of recently, or 2 days back, they have submitted their report in 2020, finalized report. Every quarterly they take out the report. The final report was submitted 2 days back. It is yet to come to the public domain. So what they said, that the average surface temperature is 1.09 degrees Celsius higher between last decade, as if you compared with the previous century, right? CO2 concentration is currently at the highest in the atmosphere. So emission is at the highest level. Extreme weather events will going to happen if the 0.5 degrees Celsius surface temperature will increase, right? And glacier melting is happening. There are projections for India also, because nowadays whatever happen will in India, that will affect the world, both in terms of geographical as well as because we have a large population size. So that is a concern of the world. So extreme heat waves are expected to occur in India in next 30 years. The flood situation going to worse. Snow cap of Himalaya is going to reduce. So the ecology of the Himalayan belt. So again, this is very important. We thrive on the ecology of the Himalayan belt. All our weather conditions are due to ecology of the Himalayan belt. That will going to affect. You will see destruction in that ecology. And also on the other side, in the southern part, the coastal belt, we're going to see more devastation in the coming time due to the rising sea levels. So why climate change happens? This is again a figure which we have seen in our school days, right? So there is sun rays comes, the radiation goes out, but because of this, what we call it as a greenhouse gases, the greenhouse gases traps the radiation in the surface that leads to the heating of the surface and increase in the surface temperature, right? This is the same thing, we are familiar with it. So the sources of greenhouse, right? So majority of greenhouse is constituted by the carbon dioxide, right? Which due to agricultural sources or due to the non-agricultural sources, followed by the methane and the nitrous oxide. The major source of carbon dioxide or a greenhouse gas is the energy use. Energy, whatever energy we are using for electricity generation and other stuff, and followed by the agriculture, forestry, and the land use, and then industry and the transport. Again, the household and the services also contributes a significant amount of carbon emission, right? So there it is important to, why it is important to know all this, because our action will be dependent on all this knowledge. If we have this information, then we'll act. Okay, okay, this is the source of emission, how to reduce it, right? Again, regarding the food items, there is a good paper available that gives, depending on the food items for agriculture production, what is the carbon emission. If you see, majority of emission on this side, on the second pie diagram, is from the livestock, right? Livestock production. The whatever non plant based food we eat, right? That contributes to maximum to the agricultural driven carbon emission. Okay. Now coming to the impact, we all work in the scientific community and the scientific environment, right? So we have to contribute and we have to, it is our responsibility to know what's happening with respect to the science of the climate change and the human health, how it impacts. As far as our philosophy, we all know we consider the planet as our mother, right? Why mother? Because somebody asked in one of our group, what is the significance? Have you seen the the theme of the WHO, right? So what is there in that? What that signifies? The mother planet. Why only mother? Why not father? And people will say, why there is gender discrimination, right? Nowadays there is a question for everything, right? But why mother? Because it's take care of. It doesn't mean father doesn't take care. So mother takes care. She has a holistic view. She gives. She keeps children at the priority first, then herself. So always a give nature of a mother is there. That's why it's a mother planet. So we as a children are dependent on the mother's health, right? That's why our RCH approach is like that, life cycle approach. Mother is healthy, then child is healthy. Similarly, if planet mother is healthy, our human health will be conserved. So that is there in our philosophy also. In the medical science, at the beginning also, there is the environment, the importance of environment, surrounding environment has been acknowledged, right, rightfully. How it affects the human health, right? The human action, as I said, the most common action, and most of the climate change is anthropogenic, that is human action driven. So what causes climate change? The burning of fossil fuels like coal, petrochemicals and all, right? Increase in CO2 emissions and deforestation. That leads to the climate change. That will lead to all the indicators what we have seen previously. And these are the diseases which are linked to the climate change. So there can be direct linkage or indirect linkage. There can be immediate or direct impact. There can be deferred or diffuse impact. That is means over a long period of time you will see. There can be conflict and the migration. Not necessarily directly that because of temperature this disease will occur, but by the virtue of rising temperature it will lead to the extreme weather events, followed by the migration, right? And followed by the sort of displacement of the population, and that leads to the disease itself, mental health issues and all. We will see that in the subsequent slides. Just take example of the extreme heat here. So that will lead to the failure of the hemostasis of the body and exacerbation of the cardiovascular diseases, chronic respiratory diseases, particularly in the elderly population. That may lead to the death. And increase O3. O3 is ozone, right? Pollens and alloallergens will lead to the exacerbation of the COPD, exacerbation of the asthma, that the chances of mortality is also there. Again, due to the climate change, the population which is at risk are again the vulnerable population we talk about. The elderly population, under 5 children, people living in the sort of marginalized people in the community, people living in the slum areas, or the laborer who are working on the streets, right? They are more exposed. So more vulnerable are more exposed. So chances of morbidity and mortality is more. There are indirect risk, as I said, there's a direct risk, the heat driven, there's an indirect risk also, the reduction in the oxygen solubility result in the reduction in the fish stock density, affecting the agricultural production, right? That affects the crop. There are studies in the agricultural science that increase in the temperature leads to the decrease in the yield of our routinely taken crops, for example, in the rice, wheat, right? So what will happen if there is a decrease in the agricultural production? It will affect the supply of a nutrient fruit, and it will affect the health in terms of undernutrition, right? So this is there. So again, impact of the vulnerable population get affected. As I said, indirect risk, as we are saying, what is the indirect pathway? So as I said before, if Himalayan ecology get affected, so entire that will lead to the meteorological issues, that will lead to the change in vector behavior, and that will lead to the diseases like which are vector driven, malaria. Nowadays you are seeing the outbreak of malaria, dengue in the Himalayan region, which was not there. You were seeing the outbreak of malaria in the coastal region, which was not there before, right? So this is because of change in the weather, change in the local climate pattern. You all know this diagram? What we call it? Excellent. Good, good. So this is epidemiological triad. Because we have a scientific audience, so we have to take a scientific tool to teach, right? So how climate change impact the disease epidemiology? Agent factors. So agent factors, it influences the pathogen, it influences the malnutrition, undernutrition, human behavior, and the mosquito behavior, right? As far as the environment, increase in the ambient temperature, extreme heat, erratic rainfall, right? The erratic sort of cold waves, right? Drinking water sources, contamination, these are environmental risk factors. Regarding host factor, change in the human behavior, the human nutrition, undernutrition, migration, right? All this will leads to the diseases. So again, these are the factors which will lead to the diseases. Okay, so that links climate change with the diseases we are known. And this is a very sort of popularly known wheel, I will say, regarding the climate change developed by the CDC. So it summarizes the impact of climate change on human health. You can see there are 4 parameters of climate change: rising temperature, extreme weather events, what else is there? Injuries, and that leads to injuries, fatalities, mental health impacts, asthma, cardiovascular diseases, changes in the vector ecologies, increasing allergens, water quality impact. Again, important. We are still, particularly in the eastern part of the country, there is the epidemic of cholera are important, epidemic of typhoids are still happening. So this is again due to the that get aggravated due to the climate change. Again, migration, civil conflicts, mental health impacts. Again, the mental health impacts nowadays we are getting sort of impetus in terms of the policy making. So that impacts the migration, people living in the slum area, migration from rural to urban areas, from one coastal areas to the non-coastal areas. That impacts the life of the people. So though you will not see the direct impact just in terms of heat stroke and all, but the indirect impact is huge, right? So that's why we need to address climate change as the issue. This diagram shows how the non-communicable diseases, cardiovascular and the chronic respiratory diseases are linked with the climate change. Extreme heat, poor air. Again, the air quality is also dependent on the temperature. If the temperature is rising, the chances of air pollutants to stay in the weather is more there, right? So the poor air quality and population displacement, that will lead to the cardiopulmonary health outcomes. For example, acute coronary diseases, heart attacks, and allergic disorders. These are again compounded by the other factors, because nowadays when we are dealing with the non-communicable diseases, we are not dealing with the agent and host, right? There is another, the time component is there. There is, we call it the social determinants of health, that also plays a role as far as the occurrence of these diseases are concerned. So other social issues, poverty, gender, access to care, that also plays a role, and environmental issues, that land use, green cover condition, urban planning, that has again has been identified as an important parameter as far as the non-communicable diseases are concerned. So both communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases are getting affected through the climate change, and that is affecting the human health. Now coming to the scientific evidence, what are the scientific evidence we are having? If we talk about the global evidence, there are studies which documented that 6.5% increase in all-cause mortality during the heat wave. When there is a heat wave, 6.5% increase in the mortality is there, particularly higher in the elderly age group. And there is also dose-response relationship, right? We call it as, we know dose-response relationship, Dawson's criteria for causation. So every 0.5 degrees Celsius increase in the temperature, 2.8% increase in the mortality has been reported. And also not only the temperature, if there is an extra day, the mortality is also reported to be on the higher side. Again, the people who are living confined to the bed, living alone, or living on the top of the floor of the building has been showing the more more mortality has been seen in these people, right? There are a lot of studies done, particularly in the European countries, regarding heat waves. Coming to the cause-specific mortality, though the literature is less, but yes, the cardiovascular diseases and respiratory diseases are shown to be increased with the heat wave as far as the literature are concerned. Again, there are extreme weather events in terms of documented across the globe. In, for example, in Pakistan, July 2020, almost landmass under the water was there. 1/5 of the landmass. Hottest summer was reported in Russia. What is happening? And heat wave in Europe, you must have heard about heat wave in Europe, that stimulates entire discussion about the climate change and the heat wave in the European countries. And exacerbation of the asthma, more than 13 million to be estimated to be at the risk of exacerbation of the asthma. Again, as I said, the infectious agents, their ecology, their behavior are affected. So these are the common infectious agents which are getting affected globally, right? And they're not only affected, their spread is also, their transmission windows, their spread, what their localities, for example, they are also changing. Mental health impact, as I said before, so associated with rural and urban displacement due to climate change, that leads to the mental health consequences, extreme stress, post-tsunami mental health. In fact, we have seen particularly in the southern part of our country, and long-term insecurity. And this is not an acute impact. You see the long-term impact as far as the mental health is concerned. So long-term insecurities and anxieties are there reported, particularly in the young people. So El Nino, again, is a meteorological phenomenon that that affects, that estimated to affect, this drives the climate change and the global climate change. That has affected the fifth of the civil conflicts in 1950. Almost more than 200,000 premature deaths each year due to the undernutrition, malaria, flooding are linked to the climate change. And as per WHO estimates, more than 250,000 additional deaths per year are estimated due to the climate change, 38,000 due to heat exposure, diarrhea, and the malaria. Again, the diseases will remain the same. There will not be new disease coming, except like COVID, what we have, and we'll have the outbreaks. But the aggravation of the disease will be there due to the climate parameters. So what are the evidences from India? What are the scientific evidences we have from India? So if you see this diagram, there is a clear-cut estimation with respect to what will going to happen in next 50 years with respect to the heat wave. What's happening? The heat wave not only increase in the intensity, there is also increase in the frequency of the heat waves. Also days of, I will say, the hotter days will be on the higher side in the coming years. And there was an exercise which was done to estimate the sort of heat vulnerable districts in India. So almost more than 100 districts are considered high and very high as far as the vulnerability is concerned. This we tried to assess the heat wave and the mortality situation in India. So all-cause mortality rate during heat wave was 41% which was reported so far in Indian literature, and the risk ratio was ranging from 1.7 to 2.1%. So doubling of the mortality is there. If you say the odds ratio 2.1, so that's a double of the mortality which was happening during the heat wave. And if the climate change continues, the heat wave will continue, the heat days will increase, and thus the mortality will going to increase. Vector-borne disease, as I said, the ecology of the vectors is also affecting in India. As I mentioned before, the disease like malaria, dengue, chikungunya are affecting in the northern part of the country more, and the transmission window is also changing as far as the coastal areas are concerned. Re-emergence of the kalas in northern part and the reappearance of the chikungunya mainly in the southern states are linked to the change in the climatic variables. Increase in the transmission season. That's we used to say that the dengue comes every 4 years, right? That was a cycle we used to say, but now you are seeing the dengue epidemic every alternate year. There is a change in the transmission. There is a change in the pattern of the outbreak of the dengue, right? And JE infection, AES, that is encephalitis syndrome related climate variability infection is under the study. So we really need to, as a scientific community, need to take a holistic view and the ecological view for understanding the epidemiology of the vector-borne disease and its impact on health. Coming to the chronic diseases, though we do not have a direct evidence so far, but the studies are going on, and there is also issue with the data regarding the chronic diseases are concerned. But yes, there are some linkages has been observed with respect to the airway diseases and the cardiovascular diseases. There are estimates regarding the change in the diarrheal diseases and the cholera. There are regarding the malnutrition affecting 40% of the under 5 children are already malnourished in our country. So if the climate change remain unbettered, so that will again increase the undernutrition problem. And as I mentioned before, post tsunami mental stress and hyperglycemia in the coastal population has been reported significantly. And this is the map of which is given by the NDMA. You can see the extreme weather event map is there. An annual loss of more than 9 to 10 billion due to extreme weather events has been reported. So loss is not related to the health. Also the economical loss is there. So holistic, I will say, impact of climate change and health has been seen in India also. Briefly about the air pollution and impact on the human health. We are all blessed to be living in Delhi, which is highly sort of air polluted. So we should be knowing about it. And climate change, as I said before, it also has an impact on air pollution itself. So indoor air pollution is the third leading cause of premature mortality in India, and outdoor air pollution is the fifth leading cause of premature mortality. Here we are talking about a premature deaths. It's like suppose a person is living, supposed to live at 70, he is dying before 70. That's a premature death we are talking. Due to, as per the Lancet estimates, more than 700,000 per year premature deaths happening in India. Again, that is given, these estimates are calculated depending on the available literature. I will say there is a lot of dearth as far as available studies are concerned with respect to air pollution too in India. 31% of cardiovascular diseases are attributed to the air pollution. Higher in the neonatal, infant, and under 5 mortality. Again, more vulnerable are getting affected. And pregnancy outcomes are also getting affected due to the household air pollution. We still have, as per the recent survey of NFHS, almost 40% of households are still using a biomass fuel, not a clean energy for a cooking. So that is severely affecting the health of a pregnant woman as well as a newborn. So these are the causes of air pollution. We all know vehicular combustion, most important, dust is the main component, industrial emissions, household burning and biomass smoking, biomass and the smoking, indoor smoking, and natural causes, forest fire, volcano, again pollen dispersal. These are not that much related to our country, but again household air pollution is the key here, right? But still due to the some interventions, for example, Ujjwala schemes. You have heard of Ujjwala scheme, right? Supply of a clean LPG fuel for a vulnerable population. So that has able to make some dent in this, but still it remains a huge issue. And these are again basics of major air pollutants. The particulate matter, PM, we always talk about, we heard from the various media houses. Carbon monoxide, ozone, again after PM 2.5, it's a ozone O3 is important air pollutant. We have heard of ozone, about the layer, no? Ozone layer, but O3 in the ground level ozone, it's as hazardous as a PM. And there are many studies now coming up with the advancement of the science and the technology, right? And there are the other pollutants also. So this is the map with respect to estimation of extent of air pollution in the country. On the left side, there is a PM 2.5 related map, and on the right side, the ozone 3 related map. You can see this. The Ganga belt is affected mostly due to the particulate matter pollution. There are many reasons for it. The climatic conditions are like that. The sort of the wind which comes from the sort of western part from Afghanistan, Pakistan, that also contributes to it. And of course, this is agriculture belt which grows more a paddy sort of agriculture crop that leads to the burning of the crop and all these things. So this leads to the belt get more affected, and moreover the weather monitoring air pollution monitoring stations are more there in this area. That is also the reason. More than 350 stations are there in Delhi NCR region, if you see, from the CPCB, right? So that's why that is also one of, as I said, whatever you measure locally, that gets into globally. So again, the government is pushing for increasing this air pollution monitoring station so that you can get a holistic picture. Disease linkages with the air pollution, again, as the advancement of the science, advancement of technology, we are the evidence is coming for linkages of the air pollutants with the various systems. The CRD and the cardiovascular disease, the well-established linkages there. But other newer diseases, for example, diabetes mellitus, cognitive issues, mental health-related issues, depression. We have done one meta-analysis that linked air pollution with the depression from various studies across the globe. With the suicides and cognitive impairments. So, lot of studies and the evidence is emerging with respect to linkage of air pollution, these newer disorders. Just to give the burden, it is the second leading cause of deaths from NCDs. Again, non-communicable diseases are the majority burden as far as the morbidity and mortalities are concerned. It is identified as one of the important risks in the non-communicable diseases globally. Now coming to the solutions. We have heard about the problem so far. The first thing to go ahead about the solution is the acknowledging the problem. As I said before, we are still hesitant in acknowledging the problem. So first step of solution is acknowledge that there is a problem. So we so far acknowledge that there is a problem. So how to go ahead in terms of solutions? The global response, you know this, sustainable developmental goals, right? Till when we have to realize it? Right, 2030. इससे पहले क्या था? MDG, right? Millennium Development Goals. What was the basic difference between Millennium Developmental Goals and SDGs? MDGs were there only for the developing nations, third world countries. तुम कर लो, हम नहीं करेंगे. But in the SDGs, they have saying, no, it's a responsibility of every country. So it is to be done for each and every nation. That is a basic difference between MDG and SDGs, right? And carbon emission is higher in the developed countries, right? India contributes very less, and that was India's stand over a period of time. Contribution of India is very less, right? And you have to also financially contribute. Country has to financially contribute to various agencies, be it WHO, UN agencies. That depends on the emission and other factors are there. But again, there is a global response. If you see, there is a climate change which is featuring here, and other environmental factors are also featuring here, right? So the global acknowledgement is there, and other initiatives has been taken. The International Solar Alliance, the agreement, as I said, IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel has been made, right? So we will see what are the actions to be done. So actions to be done at a various level. So what are the actions to be taken at the policy level or the government level? We need a strong political will, right? As I said, political will comes after acknowledging the problem. That's the second step. And without political will, nothing will happen, right? So there is a strong political commitment, and we have seen few initiatives since last few years. For example, we are part of intergovernment IPCC panel, International Solar Alliance. We are leading it. So sort of chairman, if you say, we are leading this International Solar Alliance. We have changed the name of the Ministry of Environment. Now it is called as Environment, Forest and Climate Change. There is a national action plan. So action plan is there, how each sector contribute in carbon emission. Each sector will prepare a mitigation plan as far as the extreme weather events are concerned, climate variability is concerned. That is a part of national action plan. And as far as the Ministry of Health is concerned, now since last 3 years we have this program called it as a National Program for Climate Change and Human Health, NPCCHH. So the NCDC, National Center for Disease Control, you have heard of this name, NCDC, during COVID? It is in Delhi, right? So you might visit as a part of field visit if ma'am agrees to NCDC. So this is a nodal agency for this NPCCH program, and we have at our department we have the Center of Excellence for Cardiopulmonary Diseases under this program. So they have prepared a state action plan. The state program officer has been deputed for under this program. So a lot of things are happening, but still lot of things has to be done, right? For example, policies for promoting sustainable alternate energy source use. What is our major energy source use currently? बिजली कैसी बनती है? Major coal. Coal is a major source. It's still the maximum, and this is one of the, I will say, the other people outside, means like other countries are putting us down in terms of your coal emissions or coal use is more, right? But that is our need also. So we have to strike balance between the development and the conserving the ecology and the conserving the environment. That is that pathway we have to go. We cannot shut down the coal plants. Our energy will not come, right? The electricity supply, because electrification itself is a solution of the. If you don't provide electricity, what will happen? They will burn the wood. They will burn all fossil fuels based energy. That will again lead to climate change. So electrification is the key, but using non-fossil fuel based electrification is the key, and we are moving in that direction slowly, steadily. I will not say, right? What are the non-fossil fuel based electricity? As somebody said, water, right? Air, right? Your battery operated thing. Again, EV vehicles is not a solution unless the electricity to charge the battery is like it's not dependent on fossil fuel, right? That is there. Solar energy. Again, we have made a good progress in terms of solar energy, the equipments, the sort of the cost per unit of energy developed by the solar equipment has been drastically reduced, and that has been acknowledged globally in this IPCC report also. Promotion of the alternate transport fuel, right? Mostly again the petrochemicals is our alternate our fuel. In Delhi we are seeing the CNG. You must have heard recently there is a news of the hydrogen gas powered car. Our transport minister just drove to the parliament, right? So hydrogen gas, again important fuel, sort of sustainable or alternate energy source, the hydrogen gas, that has to be from the policy level, right? Promoting sustainable agriculture practices. As I said, agricultural driven CO2 emission is a huge in our country. There has to be, because what is the majority of the occupation in our population is the agriculture. 60% are still in the agriculture business, right? And most of them are producing what? Wheat and rice, right? So that we have to change this practice. We are producing more wheat and rice what we require. That is not only affecting the soil ecology, but that is also leading to the our CO2 emissions. And regulations. We have a regulation in place in terms of various sort of green cover preservations with respect to the construction, with respect to the forest conservation, right? So that all is needed at the policy level, strictly to be implemented. Apart from policy, we also have to work at the individual level, right? So each individual has a responsibility to contribute. How? So not only the source of energy matter, the how efficiently you're using energy is also matters. So in our household, when we are using appliances, use a sustainable sort of energy source, it's a solar panel or other sources, and use it efficiently. When you are not at house, switch off the lights. Those are small things which we have to sort of adopt in our day-to-day life. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Again, recycling, though it appears how it is linked to the climate change, but the dumping ground burning, that is affecting the emission, right, hugely. So that if we have to put it in our day-to-day practice, the waste generation, waste segregation, and recycle the waste, it's an important practice. Planting trees, we all know. Alternative transport, using of public transport, cycling, walking, again, that not only affects the CO2 emission, but that also is helpful in terms of preserving your health, right? The risk factor for non-communicable diseases, you can address that, you can reduce that risk factor by cycling, by walking, right? So behavior change is the key into day-to-day life, and it's the only way forward as far as making some dent. Adopting the balanced plant-based diet, as I said, the livestock base is agriculture production is the major cause of greenhouse gas emission. So plant-based diet, adequate nutrition, again that will also address your obesity, your metabolic issues, right? So this is again the action has to be taken at the individual level. Coming to the air pollution related thing, all of you have sort of aware of this application, Sameer app, right? After this lecture, everyone has a smartphone. Good. So in the Play Store and from the iOS, you can download this Sameer application. Sameer, right? It is application developed by the CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. With this application, you can track air pollution related, air pollution, air quality index, and the other air pollutant level wherever you want to track, right? At your hometown, at your workplace, wherever. This is also platform to sort of lodge a complaint if you come across there is a waste burning happening. So this is a platform you can lodge a complaint and action has been promptly taken by the CPCB, right? There is another app called it as a Suffer app. This is a unique app which is a forecasting app. It will not only tells you the current air pollution level, but it will also tells you the air pollution level what will be there tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So it is a forecasting application is there, right? So that will help you to take your decision. You really want to go out or use the N95 mask. Again, for pollution, this cloth mask will not work. Only N95 mask will work, right? The high pollution days. Use a personal protection. Use a clean fuel for cooking, right? These are the basic actions which are needed at the individual level. We all work in the medical college setting. So what we can do to advance the science, right, as far as the climate change and health is concerned. So we have included in our department the topic of climate change, its impact in our MBBS curriculum, in the PG curriculum, right? You can also include in your curriculum the various courses, taking up a small project related to the postgraduate, other certification courses, or in the whenever you're working in a research, take this as a research project and work towards it. Though there are challenges with respect to data, but once we are into it, we'll advance the science. And the creating, if we are linked to any health system, creating and promoting climate resilient health system is the key, and engaging with the community. So it is very important to create awareness, engaging with the community, and that is our key competency, I will say, as far as community health is concerned. So this is a further scope. If you really want to take up early warning system for vector-borne diseases, we really need to develop establishing linkages with the chronic diseases. As I said, there is a dearth of this information in country that can be taken up. Community level vulnerability, local vulnerability assessment means like how slum populations are vulnerable, doing their profile assessment with respect to the climate variables that can be done. So for which side you want to be there? You want to be sort of floor mopper or turner, tap turner, right? So we all want to be a tap turner. So we have to work at the source reduction, be it air pollution or carbon emission, right? Then and then the problem will be solved. This was the picture I was talking about, right? Hmm? So कौन है ये? What it depicts? Mother, right? That's my assessment. Means like people have their own assessment nowadays, right? So what I want you to do is that let's take a pledge to be the environmental champion, right? What we have to do is to refuse, reduce, and recycle waste. Say no to the single-use plastic. Again, most important thing. All we go to the Thursday market for vegetables. I go. I see a lot of people. So take your bag with you. Don't take even if he offer. I don't take even if he offers, right? So it works on a demand and supply side. If there is a demand, they will supply. If the demand got reduced, they will not supply, right? So prevent air, water, and soil pollution in whichever way it's possible. Conserve water, tree plantation, and choose green fuels. This is green new term. We call it a green fuels or renewable energy, right? And we don't have to look outside. We have our own champion in our country. You know this lady? How old is she? Tulsi Gowda. She is 101 year old. She has planted almost 30,000 saplings single-handedly. She has converted entire barren into the forest. If she can do it, we can also do it. So we don't have to look outside, right? We have champions inside our country, and we need to be a champion. So this is just brief about what we're doing in our department. As I said, we have a Center of Excellence of Cardiopulmonary Diseases. We have again launched this collaborative on air pollution and health effect research with IIT Delhi. The secretariat is at my office, so you can join this if you're really interested to work on the research part of it, right? We are having just to inform, we are having a workshop on 17, 18, 19 May. So if you are interested, it's a free workshop, but a limited availability. It's here only in the set facility for capacity building of early career researchers for air pollution and health effect research, right? So, and we are doing many community-based research with IIT Delhi on air pollution and climate change. So, thank you so much for your time. I hope this will make some sort of understanding about the topic, and you should take it forward. We all are leaders, even if we influence one person, one friend, right? So, we are leader in that sense. So, thank you so much. So, any questions we are ready to answer? Yes.
Any questions? Any questions, or you have any observations
Mm-hmm.
and suggestions? You can add on to the content, because I feel that we are still in a developing level of awareness about climate change, and at individual level what we can do. I think there is yet to go much forward.
Inclusion of climate change in the curriculum.
Yeah.
Only thing maybe we need to expand.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably the awareness and importance we need to attack.
Because our next generation has to be, it's like your next generation students,
Yes.
but it has to be get aware with the situation so that some stimulation.
Yeah.
If you talk to the 100 people, at least one will take up this as a career opportunity or research opportunity and take it forward. That will contribute in a good manner in the advancement of the science, right?
Exactly.
We are all here to advancement of the science and betterment of the people, right?
Yes. I was looking at in two different ways. One is as a citizen, what we can do in our common day-to-day life to prevent the pollution. And secondly, as a nurse, what we can do. I was just recollecting when we were students and during my early career, we used to the IV bottles were glass bottles. But now we have shifted to plastic, huge plastic. Syringes used to be glass, bottles used to be, IV bottles used to be glass. But now we are generating huge plastic waste from the hospital side. So I was really very curious to know that should we conduct a survey to identify what are all the plastic waste which is getting generated inside the hospital from our day-to-day practice. Because if you look at this pollution control board also, they give permission per bed, you're permitted to generate, I think 5 kg or 0.5 kg of waste. So when they give the pollution control board permission to the hospital, they say this is the permissible limit of waste generation per bed. So you have to daily weigh the wastage what you are creating per bed in the hospital, and somebody can take it up as a project, and you can see how much waste are we creating per bed, how much are we creating, and how can we reduce the hospital waste. At least to that level we can, at our end as nurses, we can see how can we reduce the waste generation. So somebody can take it as a quality improvement project, and we can showcase, and slowly shifting back to no plastics
Roots,
or
yeah.
plastics, because we generate huge plastics. The amount of syringes, needles, IV bottles, the tubings, and other items which we are generating, we are also one of the source of creating huge amounts of plastic waste. So that we can think of what is the alternative. uh, and this is very nice to see that you are working with IIT, because this kind of interdisciplinary research is required, because we require some engineering inputs to change the way we are using the products in the hospitals. So that is one area we can look upon, where we can see that the reusable products are being there. Of course, we have single use policy now. No catheters, nothing should be reused in dialysis and other areas. But I think in other places we should think of again a recycling or reuse policy of the products. And Sara has really given an invite to join the research workshop, and subsequently we can identify some of the projects in this area, because every year we do, every postgraduate student is supposed to do an independent research, and the undergraduate students are supposed to do group research. A group of 10 students join together and do research projects at undergraduate level. So that way nursing curriculum is well appreciated, because the research knowledge is incorporated from undergraduate level onwards, which is not part of any undergraduate curriculum in India. So that way nursing students are given the opportunity to do some research. So all of you post basic students are here, BSc nursing students are here, you are all here from second year, third year. When you come to final year, you are supposed to do your research. So think in this line, whether can you take up some projects where you can reduce the waste generation inside the hospital, and how can you be a climate champion, or some fancy roles we have to have ambassadors or champions. And you can work upon improving a particular segment or area. You can showcase, even school children are doing like that. I was just remembering my daughter is there in one initiative called Salve Ninja, and she got some awards. So wherever she is traveling, the moment she sees a heap of garbage, immediately she will take a picture. Cow eating the plastic waste, she will take a picture. Immediately she gives input to the Salve Ninja app, and they act upon. And so that is how they are generating consciousness among the school students to create a clean environment. So we also have to develop that kind of consciousness, where all we can reduce the improve the cleanliness of the environment surrounding us. So think in that line. So you all have got lot of potentials. You attend our classes, study the curriculum, write the exam, get the degree, get employed. There the cycle is ending. You must have out of box thinking. What are you going to contribute to the society? Each one has got the potential. So you have to think in that line also. So, and join together and showcase some of the initiatives, and definitely you will be honored. Now we are seeing school students are getting appreciated for their initiatives. One girl has made a solar iron trolley, and she has been taken to NASA or somewhere she was taken. That kind of out of box thinking is going on. So you also have such thinking, and of course we have the Department of Community Medicine, who is always supporting us. And so hope to have few projects, and you
Sure,
can
ma'am.
guide the students next year. Yes. From the faculty side, any questions or contributions? Okay. So thank you so much,
you.
Dr. Salve, once again. So we take the liberty, we are not honoring you with the memento or anything because we assume you are part of our team, and we do all the activities with zero budget. So
So we are talking about zero carbon emissions. That's a
yeah,
zero budget.
so all our activities are
Yes.
zero budget,
Absolutely.
but I think the impact what we create is to be counted. So thank you
Definitely.
very much
Thank you, ma'am.
from
Thank you
all
for
of
calling
us.
and giving me the
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah,
for interacting with
yes,
the students and faculty.
yes, yes.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
thank you.
Thanks.